from Wisconsin, Mr. Grothman, for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up a little bit more on these emails. Okay, I mean, you guys were investigating the Benghazi thing. A subpoena was issued for the Benghazi documents. Could that have included documents that were emails that she sent or received on her private server?
We didn't investigate Benghazi.
We did. I'm sorry, we did.
Yeah, we weren't involved in the Benghazi
right.
either.
But do you believe on her private email there could have been documents related to Benghazi?
I would be speculating. I don't have an answer for that.
Is it possible? It's her private
Again, that
email.
wasn't part.
Let me put it this way.
I don't know.
With regard to freedom of information, you have determined that there's no question that she had work emails on her private server, right?
Yes, that's true.
That's incontrovertible. Okay? If she had work emails on there, whatever they were about, might have been about Benghazi, might have been about the Clinton Foundation and, you know, whatever's going on there that maybe wasn't right. How long was she supposed to hold on to the emails, the work emails, after she left her office?
Well, as we stated in our report, the rules require that she surrender official records upon her departure. Same rules applied to Powell as well. And so at that time, when she left the department, those emails should have gone back into the agency record keeping.
Okay, she didn't surrender them. But if she would have surrendered them, how long would they held on to those emails? Work-related emails related to the Secretary of State. Let's say she did the right thing. She leaves office on whenever it was, January of 2013. How long would those emails be held by the government?
Well, I don't know the answer to that question. That's unclear. I mean, one of the things in our report was, we stated, is that they didn't do such a great job preserving emails at that time. And so their systems that were in place weren't the right thing. So I don't have an answer to that question because it's not clear to me how long they would have been preserved.
I'll ask you both because I think the answer should be obvious. Maybe the departments weren't doing the right things, but if you get a Freedom of Information request, say, for something that happened 2 years ago, these agencies are supposed to have it, right? Are you guys subject to Freedom of Information?
Oh, sure. They're supposed to maintain the records.
So if I ask you guys a Freedom of Information request on something you guys were doing 2.5 years ago, you'd be able to pull that up for me, couldn't you?
Well, again, so long as the record is in the agency's possession.
Right, assuming somebody didn't screw up.
Some records are disposed of, I mean, there are time frames. But
minutia, but most things, you would be able to find things that you worked on 2.5 years ago, right?
You would hope.
Otherwise, why even have a Freedom of Information Act? Okay, I guess what I'm getting to, not only did she not turn them over, as you're saying she should have, correct? But if she wasn't going to turn them over, wouldn't it have been more prudent to hold on to them?
I'm not sure I follow you.
Okay, if I want to know something that was going on in the Secretary of State's office in 2012, and I made a Freedom of Information request, the first thing they would do is they'd look at the records that they are holding on to, right? And if Mrs. Clinton did not turn over the records as she was supposed to under law, we might contact her and say, hey, Mrs. Clinton, we have a Freedom of Information request here. Do you have any records dealing with the year 2012? Right? Isn't that what you think would happen?
I don't know. I mean, possibly.
Kind of frustrating here. Do you think it was right for her to dispose of these records, just as when she was still Secretary of State, would it have been right for her to erase work-related emails?
Well, if they count as federal records, she's supposed to make them part of an agency record-keeping system. That's clear.
Right.
So if she didn't turn over records that are part of the agency record-keeping system, then she would be violating State Department rules requiring her to do so.
And if she would have, they would still be available, unlike being erased by her lawyers, right? Assuming somebody didn't screw up in the State Department.
Well, I don't know if they would have been maintained because we found systemic issues with records preservation So I can't tell you for
They
sure.
should have been maintained. I'll put it there. Absolutely.
Sure.
So absolutely, if somebody makes an open records request, be it about the Clinton Foundation, be it about Benghazi, whatever, in the year 2014, the State Department should have been able to say, here are the emails related to that, right?
Sure.
Absolutely. And they didn't and couldn't because they were erased by Secretary
I don't know if they were
Clinton's-
erased, but the bottom line is there were 50,000
Well, we heard
pages of emails
we heard
that
when
were
they testified,
not returned to the department.
we heard when the FBI testified that tens of thousands of emails were erased. So I think we can assume, and some of those they were able to retrieve. We know they were work related. So I guess that's the point. Was something wrong done there to erase work-related emails? So as the result, the Freedom of Information request cannot be fulfilled. Is there something wrong with that? Very wrong with that.
Well, again, if they're agency records, they should be part of the agency record-keeping system.
In other words, work-related emails.
Well, they'd have to fall within the definition of an agency record, which is anything that documents the deliberations, the agency transactions, those kinds of things, not personal matters or not logistical matters.
Work-related.
Work-related.
So when
correct.
so when the FBI testifies, as they did like an hour ago, that they found work-related emails that had been erased, there was something clearly wrong there, because those emails should have been available in case somebody was making a Freedom of Information request.
They should have been surrendered to the department when she left.
Surrendered, and they should have been available.
Right.
Thank you.